Ed, talk to us about the Triage and Leads program.
Yeah, so let's talk about leads, inbound leads, right?
Yes.
Folks that call us, they reach out to us, right?
Yes.
You know, typically all of those leads flow through our call center in Atlanta, and they're put in your super scheduler, whatever your method of distribution is. Somebody talks to them first, right? At that point in time, that person that's talking to them down there in Atlanta, you know, particularly this time of year, it may be somebody that's not as experienced as they might be in December.
Sure.
So maybe somebody that really doesn't really understand the business yet because they're just starting, they're just learning.
Right.
But what we need to do with those leads, no matter who talks to it or who handles it, I think it's vital that as soon as it hits your phone and it gets texted to you, you pick up that phone and you call that customer. Why would you want to call that customer? Bunch of reasons.
All right, urgency.
The first thing you want to find out, is this urgent or is this just a customer that's calling up and they want a termite inspection because their cousin had termites 2 years ago and they just want to feel better about getting their house checked.
Okay.
Or when you call that customer up and you find out that, you know, they're standing on the chair because there's a mouse running across the floor and they're not getting off the chair until an Orkin man or an Orkin lady gets there.
That's right.
So what you want to do when you get that lead, I think it's vital. Remember, you don't know what kind of experience they had, you know, when they got to you, but it got scheduled, and let's say it's scheduled for tomorrow between 2 and 4. I think it's imperative that we pick up the phone, we call that customer, and we simply lead with this. Hey, Sonia, it's Ed over at Orkin. I see we have an appointment scheduled between 2 and 4 tomorrow, and I think you need to immediately cut to the chase. What are you having a problem with?
That's right.
Don't mess around, no warm-ups. What are you having a problem with? And then, just like being triaged when you go to the emergency room, if I'm having a heart attack and you got a broken ankle, who are they going to move to the front?
That's right.
They're going to move me to the front. You're going to sit there with your broken ankle crying and whining as I get moved to the front because I'm having a heart attack. And I think you need to do the same thing with your leads. I'm not saying that you just set them aside if they don't have that urgency, but I think if they've got that urgency and they're freaked out and they got termites swarming or they got mice and they're standing on the chair, you got to figure a way to get there right away.
Right.
And if that means adjusting your schedule and moving it around, you need to do that. Remember, when they got it at the call center, they just scheduled it for tomorrow between 2 and 4 because in your super scheduler, your day was booked up today.
Right.
So they don't know that you can move stuff around. So I think it's important that you do that. The other thing I think is important when you triage the lead is you got to find out buying powers, right? You know, typically, you know, when can I catch up with you folks? You know, if you find out you got to go see it, the last thing you really want to try to do is end up out there, you know, on those dreaded one-legged proposals. So it gives you an opportunity that I can promise you that the call center didn't do to qualify buying powers being present.
Right.
It gives you a chance to kind of talk to them. You know, if they're panicked and freaked out and the termites are swarming and they think the house is going to fall down, you can back them down a little bit to settle them down so you can get there in a couple hours.
Right.
And you can manage that much better. So I think
That's
that will serve you very well. And you won't end up, you know, you got poor Charlie Nolan up there in Portsmouth, Ohio, Saturday morning on the group me. My man ran all the way out. He got in his car. I saw the post at 6 o'clock in the morning, be at the customer's house at 7:30, hour and a half drive. He gets out there, and what does he find out with the lead? They were looking for a clearance letter. They were looking for a real estate inspection, and there's not a darn thing he could do.
That's right.
So he wasted all that time because he didn't triage that lead the night before when it came in. So immediately when those leads hit your phone, get involved, make a phone call. What are you having a problem with? And then you move into the steps of, do I need to move it around?
Right.
Can I move some stuff around? And then qualifying some buying power, and then taking it from there, and then adjusting your schedule accordingly. I think it'll serve you a lot better. You'll get to them quicker. As you know, sometimes it's the first person that gets there that's going to earn that business if they're completely freaked out, and you got to figure out a way. And if you can't get there, you got to figure out some kind of story to kind of back them off the ledge so they don't leap. Just say, it's okay, these swarming termites aren't going to do any damage. It's just an indication you got a bigger problem going on. So think about that. You know, old school, you know, 20 years ago, you know, we told people not to call these leads. Don't you dare call those leads. But we need to be responsible. We got to understand what we're doing with them. And I think it's the right thing to do for the customer. And I know it's the right thing to do as a salesperson to kind of prioritize where you're going in your time. Again, we're not blowing off the guy that just wants an inspection because, you know, his brother had termites 6 miles away. He may not get us right away, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So that's the big deal with triage and leads. Just think about it just like rolling into an emergency room. I'm having a heart attack. You got a broken ankle. I'm going before you.
That's right.
I need the attention. Think about that with your leads. Do it every lead, bed bug lead, every lead that comes in. Make sure you check it. And if you get really good at triaging leads, you want to get into Boss and look at your leads even on the weekends.
There you go.
So as the phone calls come into Atlanta on the weekends, you know, we answer the phone down
Right.
there on Saturdays and Sundays, and maybe the office isn't closed, so maybe it's not getting flowed to you, but you can go into Boss and you can look up the leads on a Sunday afternoon, you know, before you sit down or after you leave the dinner table and say, oh boy, 2 leads came in today, they're set for tomorrow or they're set for Tuesday. Let me triage those right now, and let me call them on a Sunday and say, hey, Sonia, said over at Orkin, we got an appointment tomorrow. What are you having a problem with? And then you triage it from there. Fair enough?
Says a lot to the customer too.
Vital.
Good job.
Vital that we do that the right way.